if you lack a good platform, or even if you have a platform, but you don't really know what it means, this lack of systematic approach, complicated by all of the other things of being part of a larger organization, can really hamper the development productivity, let alone make the workplace challenging for the scientist.
Hey, smart scientists. Welcome to another episode on the Smart Biotech Scientist podcast. Every month or two, I usually do a solo episode on a specific topic like process management, like innovation, or stakeholder management. And today, we'll be talking about process mapping and knowledge management. But we're going to do it a bit differently. Because today, instead of doing a solo episode, I am having a conversation with Irwin Hirsh, who has nearly 30 years of experience in various parts of the pharma industry and is now a consultant concentrating on enhancing business efficiency and effectiveness. Irwin Hirsh has nearly 30 years of experience in various parts of the pharma industry and is now a consultant concentrating on enhancing business efficiency and effectiveness. Stay tuned for an insightful conversation. Are you juggling the complexities of CMC development while trying to enjoy the beauty of biotech? Have you ever wondered if there's a way to simplify bioprocessing? Welcome to the Smart Biotech Scientist podcast, where we're diving headfirst into the very challenges you face. We're breaking it down, demystifying the jargon, and giving you the keys to unlock your full potential. I'm your host, David Brohlman, and I get it. With 15 plus years in the biotech industry, I face the same challenges you do. There's a way to simplify and streamline so you can remove complexity, you can skip trials and errors, deliver without delay your groundbreaking therapy to clinics and market, and still enjoy every single step. Do you want to learn how industry experts and I did it? Grab a cup of coffee and your favorite notebook and pen. Now is the time to take your bioprocessing game to the next level. Let's smarten up biotech. Irwin, welcome to the Smart Biotech Scientist podcast.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's a huge pleasure to have you on today. Irwin, share something that you believe about bioprocess development that most people disagree with.
Well, I used to get a lot of feedback that quality by design was only for large corporations with a lot of staff. Otherwise, it's a distraction and we can't afford it here.
That's a good one. I like that. We could do an entire episode on quality by design, couldn't we?
Yes, I can.
Before we jump into our main topic, let's talk about yourself for a moment, Irwin. How did you get started in biotech and how did you get to your current position?
Well, it's been a long journey. I started as an undergraduate. I changed my major from theater to microbiology in the 80s. And I joined the Society for Industrial Microbiology because of my enjoyment of Zymergy and beer brewing. And I learned all about microbial transformations above and beyond making beer. I got really into biotech, noting that it's actually quite ancient, the use of microbes to transform things like beer and bread and yogurts and whatnot. And from there, it's snowballed. I've been a scientist for many, many, many years, and I've been involved directly in biotech in agriculture first, and then in around 1997, I moved from the country to the city, and I said, I'm no longer in agricultural biotechnology, I do medicines. And that's how I got started in biotechnology. And what got me here now is I was working in this wonderful job in Switzerland, but my family did not enjoy it, so they moved back to Sweden. And as you can tell by my accent, I'm Swedish. So we moved back to Sweden, and I was forced to transition to becoming a consultant rather than working in my role in Switzerland because I was having trouble finding a good, proper job here in Scandinavia. And so I just decided to go the consulting route because it seemed more expedient in terms of getting a job and paying my bills.
You have seen many parts of our industry and now you work as a consultant. What do you think are the main challenges biotech scientists often face or encounter in bioprocess development and the manufacturing of biologics?
One of the things, like when you work in a company, there's scope creep and lack of focus when the projects shift and change around a lot. Another thing is there's quite a range in experience in the development scientists, from people who are baby boomers who've been doing this for literally decades and are quite skilled, to the people who've been doing it for 2 years and are job hopping to the next job after that. So one of the challenges is, well, to be quite frank, if you're familiar with the Dunning-Kruger effect, where you don't know what you don't know and you make decisions and you don't realize actually what you're getting into when you try to implement it because you have no reference how to do that. That happens a lot. Then, of course, there's the lack of an overall systematic approach, going back to that statement about quality by design. If you lack a good platform, or even if you have a platform, but you don't really know what it means, this lack of systematic approach, complicated by all of the other things of being part of a larger organization, can really hamper the development productivity, let alone make the workplace challenging for the scientist in terms of frustration.
Something that's absolutely important in bioprocessing is process mapping. Can you tell us, Irwin, why it's so effective and actually what process mapping is?
Sure, you bet. I'd like to point out first, it's not only important for bioprocessing, but for all development, small molecules, ATMPs, whatever. You really have to know what you're doing. And in order to know what you're doing, process mapping is an excellent tool. So first off, what process mapping involves? It involves, first off, taking some time to think and reflect upon what it is that you're actually doing, the current state of your workplace. What is it that you do there? And once you take the time to reflect upon that, you have the ability to look at what you're currently doing and try to build some kind of standard platform is ideal, but certainly just a statement of what is the standard work going on here, standardization to the extent that it's possible. You can standardize a lot. You don't want to standardize out creativity, but you want to standardize as much as is both practical and possible with where you are. Once you have something standardized, you can continuously improve it. You're not starting off randomly. And then process mapping in itself involves the creation of visual tools to better share the knowledge of what is going on. You can have a common point of reference. It's to a great extent language independent. And it's really important because this creates a baseline understanding, a common language for communication. It stops the knowledge bleed of whenever somebody changes projects, when someone leaves the company, when someone moves to a different role, the implicit knowledge that is locked up in their head gets dumped into the work of process mapping. And this implicit knowledge, to a great extent, and sometimes even completely, can become explicit knowledge that's available in a visual form where people can avoid misinterpreting it because it's visual, not language based. And you have a platform now where this continuous improvement can take place. You have a platform where the knowledge can grow and improve, where gaps can be identified. And the whole point of this is to take these processes, put them together, because processes working together towards a common goal is a system. These processes work together within your business area, your function, whatever it is, development or even accounting, and you build up the efficiency and the effectiveness such that your business performs better. There should be a layer above that where there's strategy, so that if you need to make things so you're not sub-optimizing because of what you're doing, then that's a way more complex system, but nevertheless, this is how it fits in the concept of like business excellence. But where you are in biotech process development, you put these systems together, you collect the knowledge, and you can start working more productively. And you can either design in better features to delight your customers, or you can have a higher throughput of entities coming to your laboratory to deal with a fat pipeline, or perhaps in the best case, some of both.
Sometimes it's difficult to get your head around that. For instance, as scientists working in process development, how should I map this, and what are the typical elements I should include in a process map?
When you're not particularly skilled or you don't have a facilitator to help you with process mapping, one of the easiest ways to work is backwards. Again, kind of quality by design, the end in mind. What is it that you deliver? At the end of the day, I'm supposed to deliver this, and this report on whatever my task is, whether it's cell line development, optimizing yield, or purification to remove impurities. So I have these deliverables and I work with these deliverables, and then I look at these deliverables and I work backwards from there, and I try to abstract what does it take? What do I do to create these deliverables? And you can work slowly backwards from what your outputs are into what is the process that I use to do that. And you could slowly develop a very high level and useful, what is called a SIPOC map, where you have the suppliers, the inputs, the process step, the outputs, and the customers. And so I need to deliver my reports to the scientific review board. In order to do this report, I did a bunch of DOEs, and the inputs into that were, I understood that there were a bunch of these critical quality attributes, and I made a risk assessment, and I said, oh, in order to impact that critical quality attribute, these parameters are important, but I don't know which ones are most important, if there's interactions, so I'm doing a DOE. And where did you get that information? Well, you got that information from the people or the persons who did the QTPP, the business drivers, if they're talking to the people who create the CQA list that you received. And so that's working backwards through the value chain or the work from what is it that I deliver? And then you say, all right, what are the processes that I use to get there? It always helps to have a facilitator or someone who knows what's going on to do this. But I find that when the scientists are doing the work of process mapping, it's always going to be incremental. It's going to be slow. This is not their main gig. This is not their main work. And so you need to have bite-sized chunks that you can take in an afternoon, in a couple of hours, or in an off-site. And so I find working backwards from my deliverables, at least towards what are the processes I use to create them, is the best way to start.
Hey, smart biotech scientists. I hope you've enjoyed today's conversation with Irwin Hirsh, who is a consultant concentrating on enhancing business efficiency and effectiveness. And in part 2, we are continuing our journey about knowledge management and process mapping. What did you think about today's episode? Please tell us by leaving a review. And perhaps you don't know how you can manage your knowledge effectively. So I would like to help you get started. Just book a free call using the link down in the show notes, and we will talk about your specific needs and challenges, and we will make a plan so that you can make your CMC development workflow as smooth as possible. All right, smart scientists. That's all for today on the Smart Biotech Scientist podcast. Thank you for tuning in and joining us on your journey to bioprocess mastery. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast platform. By doing so, we can empower more scientists like you. For additional bioprocessing tips, visit us at smartbiotechscientist.com. Stay tuned for more inspiring biotech insights in our next episode. Until then, let's continue to smarten up biotech.